Learning to rest properly is honestly the hardest part of having chronic fatigue syndrome. When you first get diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, all the rules change. And the rules on rest change forever.
I knew it.
Why isn't there a pamphlet or something that doctors give you when you get diagnosed with this?
I'm afraid I don't have a pamphlet.
Seriously, knowing how to rest properly is so freaking important. Well, if they won't, then I will. With this video.
You go, girl.
So based on my experience, there are 6 different kinds of rest that you really need to figure out once you have chronic fatigue syndrome. And a lack of understanding of how to properly utilize these different kinds of rest will result in flaring and flaring and flaring and getting worse.
But we need to get better.
So I'm sure you figured out the first type of rest. It's pretty obvious. It's physical rest. This is the rest that brings comfort and healing to your body. So like obviously that includes sleep, but there's more. There's also things like vagus nerve stimulation exercises, which you can check out this video here if you want to find out more about that after you watch this video. Things like deep breathing, really good acupressure massage, or even if you can handle it, light exercise or just basic movement. All these things with the body can be used as kind of a calming slash relaxing slash healing rest. The second type of needed rest with chronic fatigue syndrome is mental rest. So mental rest includes things that calm the mind.
Keep calm, keep calm.
Now I bet you didn't know learning and mental activity, right? Oh my goodness.
I thought they fixed that glitch.
I bet you didn't know that learning and mental activity can actually cause flare-ups all by themselves. So because of this, it is super important to actually plan things out so that your brain gets a break. That way it doesn't have to work as hard.
Human brain needs rest.
So what do I mean by that? I mean, make sure you plan breaks in your day, in your activities, in your learning. Listen to like meditation music or white noise or rain sounds, beach noises, things that are calming to you. Another thing you can do, which I did here, is you make yourself a special happy place to de-stress. Somewhere that when you go there, it's full of things that bring you joy and make you happy.
So you gotta ask yourself, what makes you the happiest?
What makes me happy? Color, sparkles, parrots. So yeah, as you can tell, my room is full of these things. Some people can't handle that, but for me, that's what brings me joy. So that's what I surround myself with. For some people, it's nature. They just go outside and sit in nature. I live in Minnesota, where it's cold 10 months out of the year. That ain't happening for me. The third type of rest you really need to pay attention to is emotional rest. You really need to make your emotional health your first priority. So a lot of us with chronic fatigue syndrome, a lot of our issues actually come from emotional vulnerability. We tend to be the ones that don't want to disappoint anyone. We tend to be the yes men. We tend to bend over backwards for all of our friends, for our jobs, for everything. We're so used to that, but that's not healthy.
It's not? It's not?
You need to learn to say no, and always, always put your health first. This is extremely important. If your friends want you to do something and there is a high possibility it will cause you to flare up, you can say no. It is okay to disappoint them. If they're the type of friends that know it'll hurt you and still want you to do it anyways, they're not very good friends anyways. Say no, protect your health, because when you suddenly can't go out all the time, when your health gets so bad because you keep going out that you literally can't, guess who disappears first? Those friends. They are not worth your health. Can you tell I got a little backstory there? Now, it's also extremely important to stay away from really stressful situations. So things that are super stressful like the news, social media, etc., etc. Getting all wrapped up in things that get you super stressed out. You know what I'm talking about.
Too much stress.
Don't do it. It's gonna cause you to flare. Stay away from that. Take breaks. And it's also extremely important to have a super trusted loved one or friend that you can rely on to vent and not worry about them judging you. Now, if you don't have someone like this in your life, that's what therapists are for. Therapists are meant to not judge you. They're meant to be just an ear and to help you work through things as though they were one of those trusted confidants. Except you have to pay them.
$30? I can't afford that.
But pretty much most insurances will pay for a couple therapy sessions a year. You don't even need a referral usually. And if you don't like your therapist, find another one.
I didn't know we could do that.
But having someone to vent to is extremely important. And the most important thing, even more than the venting, is that you can say anything to them and you know they're not going to judge you. The fourth type of rest you may need to take with having chronic fatigue syndrome is social rest. One of the hardest things is learning to put your health before any and all social activities. It's hard to give up things you think are fun, but it is necessary to listen to your body first. Taking social rest might even make you feel guilty.
Oh, the guilt. The unbearable guilt.
But like I said before, canceling plans when you are extremely close to having a flare, or if it's extremely possible, is super important. Once again, is super important. If you're around people who are toxic, if you have friends that get you to do too much and are always getting you to do too much, even though they know they shouldn't be doing that, they are toxic. Taking social breaks is normal, it's healthy, and once you find good friends that understand, I literally don't see my friends for sometimes a year at a time, and they understand. They talk to me through social media messaging. You will lose a lot of friends this way, but they really weren't worth having then, were they?
Friends don't quit.
And you know what? If your friends really want to see you that bad, instead of you going to a party with them, why don't they come to you and have some one-on-one time at your house?
More quality one-on-one time.
They can come to you, they can do something easier on you, and if they're not willing to do that, they're not worth it.
I think actions speak louder than words.
If you guys like my green hat, type green down in the comments. The fifth type of rest is sensory rest. So many of us over time develop really kind of overactive, hyperactive nervous systems, and being in the wrong environments can really cause problems with this. So sensory rest would be doing things like laying down in a dark room to give your senses a break, wearing earplugs if noises are starting to get to you. A lot of people swear by weighted blankets as a way to help calm them down. I think it has something to do with the hug effect. It feels kind of like a hug, and that is scientifically shown to calm people for some reason. You can also do things like taking a technology break or going outside and just observing nature and relaxing in a quiet, calm environment. Basically anything that gives your five senses a rest. Whichever sense is bothering you, a rest. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Sure it did.
Losing my voice. I'm losing my voice.
What the heck was that?
The sixth type of rest you need to pay attention to is planned rest. By planning things out and kind of developing almost an OCD about certain things, you can save yourself so much stress, so much energy. It's super duper worth it if you have chronic fatigue syndrome. In fact, you'll probably hear from a lot of people that have learned to manage their chronic fatigue syndrome that they have the most boring lives that are super routine, is the word I think they use typically, and planned out. So things like having a daily and weekly checklist that you go through. Now, not that you have to check off every little thing. Something I like to do is I put literally every appointment, every meeting, everything I need to remember. If it's not the same day, I put it in my Google Calendar and I put alerts If it's way in the future, I'll have it alert me a day ahead of time. If it's in near future and I know I'll kind of remember it, I have it just alert me maybe an hour ahead of time so I don't forget. Super helpful for everything. Another thing a lot of pharmacies are offering now is automatic prescription refill. So if you have a ton of prescriptions, you can set it up for automatic refill and they will text you when it's filled to come get it, or you can even have it mailed to your house nowadays or delivered. And also, when I do make plans with family now and friends rarely, I always tell them, you have to warn me, preferably a month ahead of time, but minimum 2 weeks ahead of time so I can start conserving energy to be able to do whatever it is I gotta do. And my family especially likes to forget this and tell me a week ahead of time or a day ahead of time. And I say, well, I'm not going then. I can't do the family party. No, I can't go up to the family cabin weekend. Oh, you expected me to remember when I have terrible memory? Sorry, but I asked you to remind me at least a month ahead of time and you did not. So I'm not going this year. Sorry.
How rude.
You know, that's just what you have to do for your health.
I feel really guilty. You did what you had to do.
All the types of rest are super important because if you don't properly rest, you will go into a flare. But not all flares happen right away. If you check out this video here, you'll see a video on 10 early warning signs of a flare-up that are things you need to pay attention to that aren't super obvious. So check out that video, give this one a like, a subscribe, share it if you think it was good with some groups or friends, and make sure you keep on surviving.